Hey, welcome back. The last video I did was about work ethics, and it's funny how when you think about something and you talk about it after you're done with that, more and more seems to pop up. So this is going to be work ethics part two because I got some more information I just wanted to share with you guys that just kind of boggles the mind. So I interviewed a guy. This was about, I don't know, about 10 years ago. He was a younger kid. I'm going to guess maybe in his mid to late 20s. And I thought he interviewed well, and so we interviewed, and I decided to make him a job offer. And so I usually wait a few days so I could look through all the candidates, and I figured he was probably the best one. So I go ahead and call him about 10 o'clock in the morning, and his mom answers the phone. And so I asked for him, and she says, well, just a minute. And it takes about 10 minutes for him to get to the phone. And you can tell he's kind of droggy, and he said he just woke up. And I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's had a rough night, or whatever. But anyway, so I offered him the job and this and that, and he he said, well, I would like to consider that. He said, what are the hours again? And I said, well, the hours, we work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And he thought about that for a little bit. He says, can we change that a little bit? Now, typically, I would help someone out if they have to take kids to school or something. I will work with their schedule a little bit. But he said, because I don't get out of bed before 10 o'clock in the morning, so I won't be able to be there before 11 or 11:30. I said, that ain't going to happen. I mean, these are the work hours. You're either there or you're not. So I actually withdrew the offer. I said, forget it. If you're not willing to come in at that time frame, you don't need to be working here. And that bothers me because how many people are out there, like I said last time, are just lazy? They just don't want to do the work. Everyone wants the money, but no one wants to do the work. And then talking about work ethics, how, it's important to put yourself out there and show that you know how to work. And I've got three examples of people that did not impress me one bit. And the sad thing is, they all three have something in common, which I'll share with you at the end. So the first guy, um, I had him working for, I don't know, 3 or 4 months maybe. And, work was a little bit slow, but we had enough to keep going. It was not an issue. And the weekend comes and Monday morning comes in, and I'm looking at the clock, and it's like, where is this guy at? He should have been here by now. And we started at 8, and 8:15 comes by, and he actually calls. And my first thought was flat tire or something, because he was never like that. And he called me and he said, hey, I'm on my way to my brand new job. Wish me luck. And it's like, what do you mean you're on your way to your brand new job? You didn't say anything about looking for another job. You didn't say anything about, wanting to quit or anything. It was just everything was fine and dandy, and then just boom. Oh, you're on your way to a new job. The next one is similar to that to an extent. Um, the guy that I hired, he had some issues as far as what's the polite way to say it? He had some issues with the law, and so he was actually going through some trial type things, and I was willing to at least work with him, give him a chance. So he came in, but he was always late, and he always didn't comprehend what we were doing. And I work with those type of people. I give him a chance, and he couldn't comprehend it, but he didn't even want to try. He just kind of did whatever. He always looked for the shortcuts, the easy way out. So he didn't last real long, especially with some trials coming up and stuff. He would decided he just better off not just be there. And then I move on to another guy who really bragged himself about being a master at working Excel, Microsoft Excel program. Now I run Microsoft Excel. I'm not an expert by any means, but I know enough to get by. And I know enough to be dangerous, I guess. So this guy brags about being an expert, and so I hired him. And with my whole thought was, I kind of want him to do the scheduling and that kind of part of it, the Excel part. And when he actually got in and started working with me on this, I realized he didn't know nothing. He did not have a clue about Excel. And like I said, I knew enough to be dangerous. And some of the things I had done as far as the programming part for different schedules and stuff, he couldn't even understand what I was doing. And mine was just real basic. I mean, super basic. And so he comes across as this expert, but when you get him in there and put him to the test, then they don't do as they say they did. They don't produce. So I like to really have them put their money where their mouth is. If you're going to say you're an expert, then you got to prove to me you're an expert. So these are different type of work ethics that I thought about earlier this week. And the one thing that all three of these had in common, and I know you're going to be kind of shocked when you hear this because I'm shocked today knowing what that was, but all three of these were pastors. I've had three preachers work for me, and every single one did something like this. I had the one preacher that just didn't even give me a warning, just called off, say, "Hey, I'm on my way to my new job." The other preacher got himself into trouble, and he was trying to go through trials and stuff, and I mean, literally court trials, and he just didn't care about the work. He was just doing it. And the other one came across, "Oh, I'm an expert at this, and I can do this and that and all that." Okay, he gets hired. Here it is. Now let's see it. And he didn't have a clue. He just did not have a clue. I even just I went crazy because my two daughters are both young ladies in their early 30s, and their whole life that they've worked, they've always gone the extra mile. If they run out of, or if they run into a situation where they need extra money, they don't come asking me. They pick up a second job, or they work over. They try to get all the overtime they can. They're go getters. They'll go out and get it, and just do what they can to get the extra money. And I'm really proud of them because they are doing a really great job and they have great work ethics. But you can't say that about preachers, at least the ones I've experienced. And that really bothers me because, we're supposed to be Christians, or we're supposed to be set apart. Preachers are supposed to be setting an example for the rest of us. Well, what kind of example are you setting if you don't even give your boss a notice that you're quitting? What kind of example are you setting by getting yourself into trouble and having all these court cases and, not caring about what you're doing? What kind of example are you setting if you're lying about all the stuff you can do, and then when you're put to the test, you can't do any, you don't even have a clue about it? What are we doing in this society? I mean, have we come that far that even the preachers um, are just, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I mean, they're just so far gone that they're just going through the motions. So it really makes me wonder where we're going to be as a society in the next, shoot, 5 years, 5, 10, 15 years. Where are we going to be at? Because if we can't get that now, then it ain't going to get much better later on unless we really grow our children and teach them how to work and be strong leaders in the community and strong leaders of their faith and live their faith out, not just go up and preach something, but to actually live it. And I just wanted to share that with you guys, and I want to hear from you guys. Do you have any experience, or have you visually seen lazy people at work? If you do, put a comment in the comments below and just tell me about that. I remember one guy I worked with. We had a specific program that we worked with at work, and it's called AutoCAD. And the way he got hired was, he said the last place I worked at had AutoCAD. Now they assumed that when he said that he had experience with AutoCAD. He's never even experienced AutoCAD at all. He never experienced the program. He just said the last place I worked, the company had it. Well, he had nothing to do with that because he was out working in the plant. So people just play with their words, and so you got to be careful when you present yourself. Don't misrepresent yourself. If you don't know it, be honest and admit that you don't know it. I mean, the Father's going to honor that. He's going to honor your honesty as you seek after Him and try to live the way He wants you to live. And so I'm just going to leave it at that. And I hope you guys have a great week. And again, write a comment down there and let me know if you've experienced or if you've seen anything like that. I'd be curious to hear back from you. We'll see you next time. God bless.